speaking of things that don't matter, we have Nico's pick this week, the 1994 film The Shawshank Redemption. Please tell us about it.
All right, yeah, so The Shawshank Redemption is a film about a man who was wrongfully imprisoned. Good old Andy. He goes to Shawshank State Prison, where he meets Morgan Freeman, and together, through the power of friendship and the magic black man stereotype, he's able to find the courage to break out of prison, and he goes off and goes to Mexico, and Morgan Freeman joins him. Tanner, what's your fun fact?
Fun fact, despite now being considered one of the greatest films of all time, it was a box office failure and didn't win any major awards.
Damn.
That's unfortunate.
Bonus fun fact, this film is based off of a book by Stephen King.
Holy smokes.
Fuck that guy. I actually have another Stephen King film on my list.
Oh, whoa. I'm sure we all do.
I'm sure it's like its worst one, I'm pretty sure, too.
Oh, fun. All right. Dylan, where are you ranking this one?
Well, I did second. Let me go last.
You haven't gone first yet, have you?
God damn it, fuck your logic. I gave this movie an S. I really liked it.
That's good to hear. I gave it an S-.
I also gave it a flat S.
I gave it an S+.
There we go.
Holy shit.
Dude.
This is the #1 rated IMDb film, so it shouldn't be shocking.
Crazy.
Also, I'm shocked it's not going to rank higher.
What's crazy is I have so, I'm sure all of us have heard so much about it, and it's, always lauded as one of the best films ever. And so, you go in with this, like, maybe it'll let me down because my expectations are too high. And no, man, it really is just that fucking good.
Yeah, it's a banger.
It's crazy.
I only know this movie by name.
Yeah, I legitimately didn't know anything about this movie. I just knew that it was very famous for being good. I didn't know anything outside of that.
Wait, had any of us seen it before now?
I had seen, like, bits of it, yeah, like Dylan. I'd seen parts of it, but I'd never seen the full film.
Yeah.
That's very funny. This is the kind of thing where it's like, it's so good, it's like, what is there even really to say? It's an absolute masterclass of a film. It has brilliant writing, acting, costumes, the emotions. I think it does really good with twists in the story. One thing that really stood out to me is like, oh, that's a good decision they made in the story, is not really letting us know whether or not he's actually innocent.
Yeah.
Because, for most of it, I was like, okay, yeah, he did it, he's in denial, and he's, because, he isn't, harping on it all the time. He says it once, and then it's not until the other character comes in and tells him, hey, here's, a plausible explanation for how that actually happened, that comes up again. I think that was just great, because I could see it getting annoying where it's like, okay, yeah, he's harping on being innocent all the time, so he must be, and then blah, 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 blah. But no, not quite.
Yes, I was very enthralled with this movie. I liked the emotion they delivered throughout the film. I do agree. I do like the twists. I like how every once in a while in the pacing, they'll switch it up, where they'll not necessarily defy your expectations, but they'll do something that's not quite expected, and then it kind of gets you to not that this movie wasn't engaging, but it gets you to retune into the movie to pay attention to what direction they're taking it. And I like how along with the breeze a lot of these characters are, and yeah, they're not super extraneous with I didn't do it, because they also introduce it as a dismissive statement where everybody in this prison is innocent. It's like, oh, what'd they get you for? And it's it's just a motto throughout the whole thing. And I will say the movie is paced fairly nice. I wish it wasn't quite so long. It's not, like I said, it doesn't overdo it. I just think it was a little slow sometimes. But other than that, I thought the acting was fantastic. I liked the cinematography for what I know from experience. And I liked the plot. It was one of those raid movies where they do so much with such a confined, space. Obviously, we do have the parts of the movies where in the beginning, the dude's, in his car and in the cabin with his wife and the dude, and then we have the outside life of the old man when he finally, gets released from prison, and then the very end of the movie where they make it to Mexico and everything. And I think any movie, because we've said something like this before, any movie that is able to emotionally draw something out of you usually is a pretty good movie. And like specifically, like, because you could feel the dread and like you kind of knew it was going to happen. Specifically when the old man got released from prison, they were like laying out the puzzle pieces, and they left it there for us to put together, and we kind of formulated what we thought was going to happen. But in our mind, at least in my mind, I was like trying to fight. I was like, no, like that, like maybe he'll just go back to prison, and then they just, they throw in the whole, oh no, he commits suicide because he was so acclimated to prison life. And I feel like that was like another message they were trying to put out there. It's like when you put people in prison and they've adjusted, but you leave them in there for so long, and then you finally release them to the public, it kind of fucks with them. And it's like, would they have been better off in prison? Should we have just let them, like, at some point they kind of insinuated there is a tipping point in prison life, and I think it was like a line that Morgan Freeman said. I don't know if I can call it a throwaway line, but there's a tipping point where it's like, at one point you're getting out early enough to where you can, go back to society, but there's the tipping point where it just doesn't make sense anymore, and prison life is the only thing you know, and like it causes people to go insane and almost kill themselves, or in this case, they do. Yeah, but this movie had a lot of twists, had a lot of emotion, really good acting. I enjoyed the movie. Like I said, the only problem I had is it was just a little bit long in some parts of it.
Anyways, I've got 2 negatives with this movie. They're really not that crazy. I'm not like super attached to the cinematography. I think it's okay. I don't think it's anything like super crazy standoutish with me. I did read a lot of people are saying like, yeah, no, it's supposed to give you the sense of isolation and feel like you're really like with Andy in this prison. I don't know. I didn't really feel it. I think it was just kind of whatever personally. Not to say it was bad. It was just kind of whatever. Uninspired for me. And there's also, of course, some believability with his escape, I would say. Little goofy that, over fucking 20 years, nobody heard him doing this, chipping away at the fucking wall for 20 fucking years. And we was like, what's he doing in there? I don't know. A little strange. Then, of course, I assume maybe he's been testing out this pipe for a while or something. But, like, what happens if he just gets to a fucking grate at the end of that pipe? He's fucked. Nothing he can do. He didn't know about that prior. It's just a little goofy the way he escapes. But I do like, I think it's not really that big of a deal, mostly just because the setup at the end of it has such a big payoff with the made-up identity thing that they played into previously going into his escape plan. It's just so masterfully done, the way they just weave in all these minor pieces to create these big emotional payoffs at the end. Just very well made. It's also just super good with its themes of just hope, perseverance, the human spirit. It's just a very well-made movie. I agree. What else is there truly to say about it? I guess one minor thing is Tanichi doesn't like this movie.
Why?
Why not?
He thinks the escape is stupid. That's it.
Okay.
So did he give you like a ranking out of it, or did he just think it's bad?
No. He just doesn't like
strange.
it.
I was gonna say one thing I forgot to mention that you brought up was I like how the red herring of I made like a false identity so we can like do these like tax things and get money. I like how that, like you said, was weaved so gracefully into the end where he just shows up as the alias and just fucking goes off and gets his just desserts. I thought that shit was kick ass. I love that part. Anyway, go on, Nico.
Is that red herring?
Yeah, he used that phrase completely wrong, but we know what he's saying.
Yeah. Question for you guys. Is Andy a Christ figure?
No.
What?
No? He literally does a fucking cross position when he attains freedom. He brings salvation to the people of the prison.
He doesn't bring salvation to anyone.
To who?
To Morgan Freeman. He brings salvation to his soul.
I did think it would be really funny after, like, the warden is no longer in the picture and the head guard guy is also out of the picture. I thought, like, for a moment there would be, like, some way Andy was able to, like, screw with, like, the system a little bit and make sure he gets out. I was kind of hoping that'd be a thing. They didn't allude to it, but they didn't not allude to it. So, but,
Speaking of alluding, do they really allude to the fact that he's been digging this hole this entire time? Like, do we ever, like, really get a glimpse of him, like, shaking some, like, the rocks from his pants or anything like that throughout the film?
I wasn't paying attention.
I didn't notice.
Think you could argue the little figurines he's making out of rocks could be an allusion to it.
Okay.
You could also, him asking for the poster too. You know, he asked for a little pickaxe, and he specifically wants a poster as well. There's some minor things, but yeah, I don't think they really lead into it too much. I did like the way he hid his pickaxe in the Bible. I think that shit was fucking badass.
That was
pretty sweet.
I'm surprised the guy there is some believability issues with that, of course, given this guy knows how heavy a Bible is.
Yeah.
He's the fucking goat. My man probably would have immediately been like, why is this Bible like 3 times heavier than it probably should be? Granted, I don't think that pickaxe is very heavy,
Probably
but
not,
still,
so.
like he could probably tell the weight difference of it.
I don't know about
But
that.
I don't know, maybe it was really caught in that moment. It also kind of reminds me of another minor thing too. The fucking warden is so comically evil. It takes me out of it a little bit as well. Like, obviously, there are truly... I mean, this is maybe just my ignorance again, but I'm certain there's people like that are really just that fucked up and so out for their own self-interest. But he's just so comically such a fucking dog shit human being that it took me out of it a little bit. This is not a major issue at all. It's just like, he's just like, wow, this guy's fucking human trash. Even like some random inmate that comes in here has like a hint of something, you know. They could probably just keep Andy in there forever and just never even give him a trial in the first place. And yet they just killed that fucking dude just from like one sentence he says that has no actual corroboration. You know, it's just so, he's just so comically fucking terrible.
I just don't think he even wanted to risk it, is the big thing here.
Well, I know, I get that. It's just like, you know.
I was gonna say, to be fair, I do think he kind of ramps up in his evilness as he gets tied in with more and more dirty money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will admit, I didn't see him getting shot, like, coming. Like, when that dude got shot, like, obviously when they pan to the dude in the tower with the gun, that's, you know, it's very obvious at that point. But, like, when he got shot, I was like, oh, shit! Like, that caught me off guard. And that goes along with the twist thing. Like, they constantly are doing things to recenter your attention onto the movie if it, for whatever reason, already wasn't. Yeah, I liked those parts in the movie where they keep twisting your expectations in a good way.
I 100% knew he was going to die the moment he walked out there.
I was gonna, the second he walked outside, I was like, okay, so he's gonna get shot. I think he even said that to Nico.
Yeah, they're going to be like, yeah, he tried to escape and they just shot him.
Yeah, I do like the parallels they have between different characters too. Like, what the fuck's his name? The guy that hangs himself. You know, there's parallels between him,
Brooks.
Brooks.
Yeah, Brooks. There's parallels between, you know, him and Red and him and Andy, just with their perspectives on getting out, life itself. I'm just gonna keep fucking jacking this movie off. They do a very good job with their characters. The characters are incredibly well written. They're very inside of what they are. Like even Andy as a main character, you can know he would never kill himself. Like, I knew when he was in that fucking cell he didn't kill himself, specifically just because of the way they've portrayed him throughout the entire movie. He never gave up. He's super perseverant. You know, he was sending a fucking 2 letters a week or something to get that money for the library. He never gave up. He kept giving in. He never got his way. He still kept going. This is, you know, one of the more fucked up things. For the first 2 years of him living in this prison, he was constantly getting fucking gang raped, and he just, you know, nothing we can really do about that. But guess what? He never stopped fighting. I think a lot of people probably would just give in and let it happen after a while, but he never let that happen. And they just did a really good job with his characterization, and it sticks away the entire movie. He fucking was constantly plotting the entire time. He makes his escape, he executes it successfully, and then even after he's done, he still keeps going. And of course gets the the fucking, what's his name, the warden arrested, and, you know, makes him kill himself. You know, it all just works out in the end.
And kind of to add on to that, like, they even do this thing where even with our villains, they like give them a little moment of humanity, like
the main prison guard.
Yeah, the main prison guard, he like, oh, here's how you can, like, do your taxes or whatever. And then the next time Andy gets raped, that guy fucking kills that guy. He doesn't kill him, but that main prison guard was very funny to me to watch, just because I recognize him as the fucking drill instructor from Starship Troopers.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, it's that guy. And he's like kind of the same character too. He's just like the hard ass who's like beating the shit out of people.
I don't think I caught that.
And he has such that's what's his name, Clancy Brown or whatever. He has such an identifiable voice. Like, you'll recognize him in tons of shit just because he has that super identifiable, like, deep voice. But anyway, another thing, I think kind of an underrated thing this movie does really well is, I think they do the makeup pretty well for having Andy and Red age.
Yes, I was going to mention that.
It is very subtle, but it's subtle in a perfect way that just sells it, and you can like see the age on their faces. You're like, man, this is so believable that they've been here for like 20 years or whatever.
Yeah, and you start to see like Andy's hair go a little gray on the edges and stuff like that too. Yeah, it's very nice little touches like that.
Yeah, I could see a worse movie like, oh, they're going to be full gray, they're going to have all these wrinkles, like go overboard. But this movie, it's just enough where you're like, oh, it's perfect. I believe this.
Yeah, no, they do the passage of time extremely well in this movie. What's funny too is like I was just thinking about that as I was watching it. I was like, are they going to show him aging actively as he's been here for like a decade? And then it was like the very next scene they cut from like a little time skip, and he's got some fucking gray in his hair. I'm like, that's cool. There we go. I shouldn't have let this movie down for a little bit. But yeah,
I'm sorry I doubted you,
well.
Shawshank Redemption.
Even just with like the way they interact with everybody, everyone just gets much more comfortable with each other and set in stone over time. It's just a very well made movie. I guess one final thing for me is, did this movie get you guys emotional at all? Personally, I got teary eyed a little bit near the end, specifically when Red digs up the thing that Andy left for him, and it's a letter telling him to go and fucking meet up. That shit was so cool to me. You know, he planned it out for a while. It's just like they just have such that deep friendship and bond with each other. He trusted him so much, and that was just such an emotional scene for me. He went all the way, and that saved his life too, because they have the parallels between Red and Brooks at that point, and it seemed like Red was probably just gonna fall into the same thing as Brooks, but he had that one piece that kept him going, which was that letter from Andy, that thing under the tree, and that's what saved his life. And I just think that's fucking beautiful. I think the ending is just super beautiful, personally.
Yeah, and of course that saying, gotta get busy living or get busy dying. Yeah, and tied to that, Jackson, would be the scene that got me personally a bit emotional, which was the scene of Brooks hanging himself.
Oh,
coinciding that with like the letter that they were reading from him too.
Yeah. For me, the whole sequence of Brooks was like really hitting me, where I'm like, fuck yeah. I mean, he's this old guy who's been in prison forever. Like, he is just kind of fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like cars are everywhere. I saw like one of them like before, but now like the world just moves by so quickly.
Yeah, that shit's real as fuck.
Yeah, that's what it was like a touch of realism in that moment where it's like you don't think about it. But when he is like, when I went, like exactly like you guys said, when I went to prison, cars were a rarity. Now they're everywhere, and there's all this technology, and I can't acclimate and all this. Didn't he find the letter after? Like, he set out to go find the letter? Isn't that the sequence? And then after, because that wasn't the note he found that kept him going. He remembered he made a promise to go to the spot he was going to. So,
when I say the thing that kept him going, the letter that kept him going, I meant just, the promise with Andy to find that is what kept him going. I
wanted to make sure I wasn't misremembering. We're square. Gotcha.
Yes, I already want to watch this movie again.
It is a good movie.
This is the first time in a long time I've been like, I just want to sit down and watch this fucking movie again already.
Hell yeah.
We're gonna start a new channel where we watch The Shawshank Redemption every day and then make an episode gassing it up.
Oh yeah. What's funny too is like this is one of those movies that's just so good and it speaks for itself so well that I didn't even really feel obligated to go and like look up reviews or anything for this movie. Like I was like, this movie's fucking incredible. It's a masterclass in filmmaking. I don't need to go and watch a million fucking reviews to tell me that or like break things down or anything.
Yeah. I will say it's very funny reading reviews that came out like at the time. Because a lot of them are just like, oh, dude, this is fucking blowhard emotional trash. What the fuck is this?
This is just a rehash of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, it's embarrassing on their part, you know?
Yikes.
Do we have any other thoughts on The Shawshank Redemption?
Do you guys feel like this film deserves to be the number one on IMDb?
Out of every movie ever?
Yeah.
I mean, I've
hard
got
to
movies
say.
I'd put higher than it, but
Yeah.
I think it's a good pick for one of the top movies of all time. So I'm not fucked up about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if like, if you're saying the number one where you're trying to find something that like averages out what would be really, really good to the largest number of people, I think this is a fair one. Like, I don't know, what is the kind of person, well, I guess Tanichi. Never mind.
Bummer.
I was gonna say, what is the kind of person that doesn't like this movie? But anyway.
Wait, I should have got him on.
I definitely think this is like the Full Metal Alchemist of anime here, where like, much like how that is the number one anime of all time according to Mal. Not anymore though, fuck you, Frieren. It should be lower. It's only one season, it's not even a complete story yet. Fuck you.
It's such a sick fucking season, bro. Talk after you watched it.
Like, it just does everything so well, where it's like, yeah, of course it should be number one.
Yeah.
Yet you give it an S minus. Curious, why is that?
I just really feel like the whole like escaping the prison thing should have been alluded to a bit more. I would have liked that. I don't know.
I kind of like that it's not alluded to.
I do as well.
It's kind of like Andy outsmarting us, the audience, as well.
That's what I was going to say, is because everybody was caught off guard by that. Nobody knew he was doing this, and I think it really leads into the theme of it, too. Like, we are all getting fucking got by Andy, and I think that's good. Because, like, I didn't suspect him using the alternate identity thing for his escape either. Like, he's a fucking smart guy, and he got all of us. I think it's interesting.
I just feel like in a different film, you could easily look at that and be like, man, what an ass pull. They didn't allude to that at all.
I mean, in fairness, though, too, it's just like... Because I almost don't like it when they allude to things that can, like, after we see the movie, we're like, oh yeah, well, of course he would break out. I think it does add to the shock factor of like, oh wow, he actually had been planning this for a long time, and everything he'd done up to this point makes sense. But I totally missed the second portion of what I was going to say. I had a really good point. Now I lost it.
I think the movie would be worse if they made it obvious that this was
I'm not
happening.
saying to make it obvious or anything. I'm talking about like just little things. I am not saying like Andy should like say to Red, don't worry, Red, I've got an escape route. I'm going to get out of here. I've been taking a tunnel through it. I'm just talking about like, I don't know, maybe when like fucking... they're like coming to inspect his room or whatever, and he like missed some like spots where of like the fucking like granite or whatever the fuck, and it's like place is a little fucking rocky in here. It's fucking weird. I don't know, just like some little things, or like we really get a scene of him like kind of shaking the rocks out of his pants or something like that. Nothing that it like directly draws your attention to, just some little throwaway thing is what I would
This
like.
is the real question, though, Nico, is like, did you go out of your way to look and see if they actually had none of these, or are you just assuming they didn't because you didn't catch any?
I'm just assuming they didn't. Maybe they did. If it does, it's a fucking S+, okay? For now, I think I am willing to bump it up to an S tier, though.
I was gonna say,
Holy cow.
I remember the thing I was gonna say, and this is metagaming the shit out of the movie. Oftentimes, the best way to get away with anything is to not let anybody in on what you're doing in the first place. So and I
What?
think that
doesn't make any sense.
I think that goes back to the whole, if us as an audience doesn't know about it, and not even his best friend in the entire movie doesn't know about it, that's what makes it... I feel like that just added to the shock factor. So.
Yeah, Nico, are you saying you're closer friends with Andy than Red?
I guess not. I guess
Anyway.
I've seen Morgan Freeman in more things, so I
Yeah, I'm sticking with an S+.
Yeah, I'm sticking with an S.
I'm also sticking with an S.
Well, guys, I don't know if you figured this out yet, if you've done the monkey math in your head already, but that does in fact land it at an S tier, which is the
Holy
first
shit.
S tier we've had in what feels like so fucking long.
When was the last S tier?
I'm currently scrolling through trying to find the next one. Oh yeah, the last one we saw was the Raid 2 at S-, and then before that
Oh,
was Fight
shit.
Club at flat S. And that was fucking
God damn.
22 weeks ago.
So what? That's
Jesus.
Almost half a year.
No.
A month short of half a year.
yeah. I did pick this movie specifically because I felt like it had been too long since we saw an S tier film, so...
Fair
We had
enough.
two of them back to back, to be fair. Like, those two are right next to each other, so...
Yeah, I mean, we've had some close ones.
I think this one stands a decent chance at some point in the future of making it into the S+.
Yeah.
I'll watch it again. Like I said, it's a very minor thing. I just think it's a little long. That's just my only thing, but I could be wrong.
If I can find videos where it's like, the 10 things you missed in Shawshank Redemption, where it shows that he did, in fact, have like some little moment here or there where it's like, oh yeah, you can, if you were paying attention, you would see, yeah, he was plotting a little something.
You may
there.
notice that every time he talks to Red, he's blinking really weird. This is actually Morse code where he signals, Red, I am digging a tunnel.
I think it'd be funny, Nico watching one of those videos, and it's like, every single time he's outside in the yard, post getting the pickaxe, he's actually always dumping rocks out of his pockets, non-stop. He's always doing it.